Hey, we're living in an AI driven world. Have you noticed? Yeah, I sure have. And I know you have too. So here's the deal. Do relationships matter? Well, let's cut to the chase. Let's talk about relationship intelligence. With me today, Jessica Robertson. She's the CRO at Intel.ai. Why am I talking? Let's get the show going right now.
You're listening to the Sales Hunter Podcast with Mark Hunter, where the focus is to help you as a sales leader sell with confidence and integrity. And now here's your host.
Okay, so relationship intelligence. Is that an oxymoron? No, it's not, right? Hey, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good. Unpack for us. What do you mean? Because you use the term relationship intelligence a lot. What do you mean by that?
Relationship intelligence is a hard thing to crack open. And I think you alluded to it a little bit. Is it an oxymoron? Do we know who we know? And do we know who they know? And so it's a really deep thing that we here at Intel have set out to accomplish, is understanding how to bring relationships, how to find out who we know, how to use our memories through AI and the use of technologies that we use every day in our businesses to understand how to put that in our go-to-market strategy, how to leverage the people that we know in a non-annoying way. And in the height of the noise, in the height of everything that we're experiencing in today's market, we have to go back to the basics. We have to use our relationships, and understanding who they are is the hardest part of operating in today's day and age.
Okay, I love this. So what we're really doing is we're taking AI, the body of knowledge that brings, and bringing it back. But I think what you're really talking about is kind of at the top of the funnel, correct?
Exactly. Top and all the way through the funnel, to be honest. Like, I'm not of the belief that outbound sales is going to die anytime soon. I think that it's going to change.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's certainly going to change. It's certainly going to be different. But we still have to understand, in today's world, how do you cut through the noise? Like, AI is creating all the noise. So how do we use AI to twist and flip it back to something that we know and can feel, and buying from people we trust, and buying and not being somebody's guinea pig, which is also tough in today's world. So this is the nature of what we're doing.
You know, it's interesting because we see study after study where the customer does not want to involve a salesperson until they get to 72% of the way through the sales process.
Exactly.
Because they don't trust them. They just don't feel. And it feels like what you're trying to do is you're trying to flip this on end and allow the salesperson to gain an entry point earlier in that process. Here's the challenge, though. I've got relationships. You've got relationships. How do we really find, where do we have relationships that overlap besides looking at LinkedIn? Oh, wow, you're connected to so-and-so. Who cares?
Well, Mark, is somebody with a huge LinkedIn following. I think you're the perfect description. You don't know all of them, right? You want to, but you don't know all of them. So
truth. I know very few of them. Okay.
Yeah, but as somebody that sits in your chair, utilizing LinkedIn first degree connections, or even in second and third, are completely irrelevant tool these days. Like, we're utilizing LinkedIn to be a sales tool, as a social media channel, as a place to learn, as a place to gain information. Me, as somebody that's been in sales for 15 years, my LinkedIn is a collective organization of all the people I've tried to sell to in my career, because it's a sales tool, and we have to face those facts. But it is my personal belief that our professional relationships as a company live inside of our company. They live inside of our org-wide emailing calendar. They live inside of our CRM to some degree, even though there's a lot of fallacy around structured data and how structured data cannot be mapped to relationships. So I think the culmination of all three of those things, public data, the utilization of org-wide email and calendar, and the ability to map that against your CRM structured data, it's all three of those things playing together. And yes, LinkedIn has a place in public data. They do. There's a lot of valuable data in LinkedIn. Where have people worked? How engaged are they? These type of things that our sellers are using today, we can't forget about them. They're just not the map to the actual key to relationships.
Thank you so much. Because I can't tell you the number of requests I get. Hey, Mark, you're a second or third connection to this person. Can you? And I go, I don't even know who you are. That is. But you dropped a truth bomb there. about CRM data. Oh, gee, could there be some not good information in? Oh, wait, well, that's a whole separate show.
It is, but you're alluding to something super important. Not only, actually, it is our belief that there is good information in CRMs, but it's not complete. Think about the life cycle of an AE, an SCR, a CSM. All of these people we're dependent on them inputting the data into the CRM. So the fallacy is that it's human dependent, right? And making sure there's no company. I talk with so many CROs every single day, and there's not one of them is willing to die on the hill that their CRM has complete data. So that's one thing. The second thing is that it's structured. Relationships are not structured data. We don't live inside of databases. You can only put close one opportunity to one contact. What's wrong with that? We're selling in very diluted committee style sales these days, right? Like you never just get to sell to one person anymore. Those days are gone.
Okay, now again, you touched on something because you're right. More decision makers than ever being involved in every decision. They don't wear the uniform set of titles.
Yeah.
They don't fit the uniform job description. A lot of these are silent people. They're lurkers who just attack at the end. So is what you're saying is we have to develop a database. We have to develop a systematic approach to be able to understand where these relationships are. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to a favorable Yelp review that you write about me or I write about you. I mean, somehow we got to get connected.
Yeah, exactly. We have to be able to identify who are our champions, who are the people within our organization, our investors, our advisors, our go-to-market partners. We have to be able to identify them all. That's the first challenge, Mark. Like most companies can't even begin to think of what the identification of those people even means. I'll tell a funny anecdotal story. I've been working with a customer for the first half of this year. And I said, why don't you bring me a CSV file of all of your champions? And you know what I got? A list of procurement managers. And I called her and I said, hey, do you even sell to procurement? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, then why is that the title of all of the closed won opportunity contacts that's in your CRM? And she was like, good point. And I was like, this is where we're dying, right? We're not even able to identify. And if you think about the life cycle of a deal, champions come and go, champions change positions. Who do they know? That's where you really start unlocking relationships. But most people can't even start at the very beginning, which is identifying who they know. That's a huge challenge.
Wow. When you say procurement, I go business prevention department. Oh, that's okay. I'm sorry. I wouldn't want to throw those people under the bus. But you're right. And the other problem with CRM data that I find is it's a snapshot in time. It's a relationship you have during that transaction, the lead up to the transaction, and maybe an onboarding afterwards. But then it ends. Yet life goes on. And there's something else that's interesting. I really want you to address. Go back 10 or 15 years ago. And if you wanted to crack the C-suite, it was a relationship. It was, you came into the C-suite by way of a relationship. Now I'm seeing that be modus operandi for every level of an organization.
Yeah.
You see that too?
I think the world is always one big cycle, right? So 10, 15 years ago, as you said, everything was relationships. We didn't have all the fun technologies that we have today. Email wasn't operating at the capacity that it is today. Neither was cold calling. You couldn't cold call 100 people a day. Like you were an animal if you could do that, right? So when you think at the way that everything is scaled over the past 15 years, we've scaled outreach, we've scaled noise, we've scaled everything. So we're coming back into that motion where all of those things will still exist. But you have to be outbound is now just about timing, catching people in their height of pain or height of opportunity, enlightenment. And when you want to get in some other way, when it's not just about timing, when you want to educate, when you want to talk about these big problems that we're seeing today, it's about relationships. Who do you know that can break down that trust barrier, right? And so I think we've come back around to something that's not been all that far away all this time. Like we've always needed these relationships and we've always needed somebody to champion us, but we're coming back around to that being the most efficient way to get in, right? And the most efficient way to get into any opportunity these days is back to relationships. I don't think it ever went away. I think we got distracted because other things were working at scale. And relationships are very hard to scale. You're often limited when you think of startups and things coming to network these days. Founder led, it's just their relationships. It's just their investor relationships. And then how do you scale that over time? Salespeople are starting to stay in jobs a lot less time. They don't have Rolodexes anymore. 18 months in position is not uncommon. So you don't have these people who are like industry experts with huge Rolodexes anymore. So we're just coming back around to being able to now use our customers as our relationships, people that we've instilled the trust in. And by the way, it's made a huge turn to that your products and your services have to be on, because now you're dealing with, now you need your customers to be involved in your go-to-market channels. So this is, I mean, it's a big loop, but we're coming back around now.
Okay, you've said so much, but I got to call out first the word Rolodex. Some of you are going to Google right now and saying, what is a Rolodex? Okay, that's a separate show. We'll leave that. But I want to come back to something, because studies used to say that you could contain maybe 100, 150 friends, 150 relationships. And yet in today's world, we have to be able to manage far more relationships than that. And you touched on something else, and that is this speed, this urgency. You got to kind of be there when they're ready to buy. Relationship intelligence, coming back to this, how do I use relationship intelligence to create a relationship that I may not be activating now, but I am going to activate it somewhere down the road? I don't know when.
Yeah. You've talked, recently I've had this conversation a lot, is it's not something you can't build a network overnight. It's not something that I can even build for my customers. I can't build your network. It's something that you have to start with. You have to nurture from day one when you're in roles, this network of how do I build trust within my own community is that question, right? So I alluded to it just a second ago, nurturing your customers, delivering value. The expectation of delivering value now is primo. It's number one. We're having to provide it up front, as you said before, right? 72% of the buying process being done by the time a salesperson enters. What? Like, this is crazy to think about this. But when you have a customer base and a good product and a good service, and you're not using those customers, you're missing out. And then you start to weave in all the other factors of not being able to identify who your customers are. And I'm not talking about accounts, okay? We don't do business with accounts. We do business with the people within those accounts. So if you can't identify those people within those accounts, you're lost. And this is where the intelligence comes from as a forefront, is identifying who those people are. The second is, how do you identify accurately that people know each other in a professional way, right? I was talking to a VP of sales this week, and he was saying, like, there are people that will sell to family and friends, and there are people that won't. And I'm one of the people that won't, right? Like, because I know what my family and friends do. I don't need a tool to tell me that. But what I need a tool to tell me is, who are my professional relationships? And this is where the weaving of that internal data and that public data becomes the secret sauce, right? It becomes, who do we professionally know? We personally use a bunch of different algorithms in the form that we create what we call smart career overlaps, but there's also social indicators that need to be woven in and can be, but it's the processing of a ton of data. And it's my belief today, Mark, that you cannot do this manually anymore. And in a world where we used to like kind of map out and put dots on a paper and try to draw lines between them, it doesn't work like that anymore. So I think it's a collaboration of a lot of data these days.
You got me thinking about something, because you made the comment, and you made it in passing, we don't sell to accounts, but we sell to people in the accounts. And you stop and think about that. The traditional thing is, we develop this ICP, our ideal customer profile, and it's this customer, it's this type of this industry. But we really have to flip that around and look at the people who are in there to then determine that. And again, because that's going to determine dramatically the speed with which we're able to get in there, if we're able to get in there, and will we be able to create a meaningful relationship? Because I firmly believe that the stronger the relationship, the higher the level of trust, and the higher the degree of trust, the better margin there is in the deal. I mean, it's just, I mean, in the absence of trust, low price is everything, period.
Absolutely.
And I can't afford to have any salesperson be a vendor out there, because again, just doesn't exist. Okay. Walk me through an example, walk the audience through an example as to how, because again, you're at Intel, and cool company, because you do this. Walk through kind of the methodology and in terms of people saying, hey, how does this work?
Yeah.
How does this benefit me?
There's a couple different plays, and I'll start with kind of the evolution of our story that we've talked through today. And the first is, who are your champions? Identification is the first step of everything. But not only who are your champions, who are your investors? Who are your advisors? Who are your colleagues? Who are your past alumni that are rooting for you still, right? Like this network of who a company knows, it comes from their email and calendar mostly, combined with public data and the CRM all together create this really healthy unison of an understanding of who do we know. The second part of that is the flourishing part of the public data, right? Like, who do they know? So when you think about programs like warm introductions, icebreakers, customer references, customer referral programs have never worked before. Why? That's a big statement, right? To say that out loud is a big statement, because I say to you, hey, Mark, if you know any other VPs of sales that might be interested in Intel, please let me know. And you would say, Mark or Jess, sorry, I don't work for you, and your customers don't either. So they can't be in charge of thinking through the play. Right. But if you flip it on its head and you say, hey, Mark, I see you've been working with X, Y, and Z for 4 years at your previous job. I guess you guys probably have a good relationship. Would you mind making that introduction? You cannot burn the ask. You can't go, hey, Mark, I see you have thousands of followers on LinkedIn. Can you introduce me to this one? You're going to be like, I don't know them. I don't know you. Exactly what you just said. We as a company have now burned the ask for Mark. So it's about keeping that ask alive, coming with good data, good preparation, a solid ask that Mark can now go to his particular known relationship with. This is where we specialize.
Okay, I love that, because short of having a customer reorder more, buy more from you, the easiest way to grow your business is by way of referrals. It's the easiest way. And it's also the most misunderstood as to how to leverage it. And what do? We spend all this resources trying to go out and do this cold calling, do all this cold outreach, when what you just walked through was, wait a minute, here's a way to expedite the easiest way, by really by you pointing the person to that person, because you know they're connected. That is outstanding. I love that approach. And think about it, any salesperson in any business can do that right now.
They can.
Yeah. But it also goes back to something else that you said, and you've used the word 4 or 5 times, and I totally agree. Champions. You got to find out who your champions are. Yeah. And you're right. It's not procurement. But if a salesperson were to go through that simple exercise of writing down who are all your champions, who are the people who are cheering for you, not only your existing customers, but others, and you start right there, it's amazing at how much more successful any salesperson would be. That's huge. Yeah.
I meet with a lot of startups, and the one thing that I said is, I can't build a network for you, right? Like you can't falsify this. You can't make it up unless you use LinkedIn first degree connections, and then it's all fake. But if you come back to the startup and how do they expand, you have to look, the company is 50 to 100 people, still startup-y, still trying to scale in that high growth motion. They maybe have 100, 150 customers. You've 3x the company, just if you think about it on one person to one account. Then if you can identify all of the people cheering from you, all of your investors, advisors, who do they know? Think about investors and their portfolio companies and the people that they know. You really start to be able to expand your network. Now, it's not easy. You have to perfect the ask. You have to make sure that you're delivering the right information in the ask. And then if you're really successful, you start incentivizing the ask, but that's also a different show and a different day is how to do that correctly. But it's the interweaving of all of these things that makes it really complicated. And you said a salesperson can do it, and that's the facts, they can, but they don't have time because we're not as efficient as we used to be. Cold calling isn't working as well. Cold emailing isn't working as well. So we need to operationalize this data to our salespeople, put it in their hands and let them act on it.
I love that. Hey, we've been talking today with Jessica Robertson, CRO of Entail.ai. Now, I do imagine that you probably use your own tool to sell, right?
We drink our own champagne, that's for sure.
Just checking on that. And I'm glad you said champagne, not Kool-Aid. So it's like, yeah, of course, we go first class. So yeah. So, hey, tell people, how do they get in touch with you? And a real quick, the benefit line of using your product.
Absolutely. You can get in touch with me pretty much anywhere on social media, or you can email me directly. I'll do the #1 sales sin in the world is put my email out there. I am jess@entail.ai. Feel free to reach out to me on any socials via email. And I tell you what, come and contact us when you are ready to use relationships in your go-to-market strategy. We are the easiest way to operationalize that for your team and be able to cast that net and be a little bit more efficient in today's really, really tough outbounding world.
Just fantastic conversation, because I'll tell you what, this is why I was so intrigued when I met you a week ago, because you're doing this is what sales is about. It's about relationships.
It is.
And your relationship arrives before you do. And,
Absolutely.
we don't close sales, but we open relationships. And so you are so dialed into what I talk about and my audience. So with that, we want to say thank you for listening to the Sales Hunter podcast. What is it? It's 2 episodes a week. One like this one, where we do a deep dive with a subject matter expert. Second episode, short, single topic. Why do we do the show? It's to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. Do me a favor. Leave me a review on your favorite podcast app. And hey, I'll see you next week. I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Great selling.